Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live, and as you guys can tell by title and thumbnail, today we're working on both Target Logic and Unreal Engine using C++. That's let me get my center of my screen. There we go. Okay, and last time I didn't go over Target Logic. I even got the Target Logic to work, and when my NPC's health reached 0 or lower, he did like get destroyed from my editor slash my program. That said, I did not actually complete it, so let's go to my gameplay screen. There we go, because guys, I did not have time to like work on it off screen, but I will actually work on it right now. Okay, let's say something like since I am live exclamation. And guys, this is the chat from like last stream. Okay, there we go. Okay, listen to me everyone. Look at this soul standing before you, blah blah. Okay guys, I'm actually getting kind of I feel like reading the intros every single stream is getting kind of tedious. And that's a genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perception, said by Thomas Edison. Okay, these are like the quotes from like last stream and like the previous streams. So I guess I'm gonna skip to the main stuff. The mission, precise clicking target. We're moving away from shoot the eyes. Okay, trace what you want to, click the mouse and smite the NPC. To do this in C++, you must. Is this like the correct chat? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, to do this, you must command your represents the player controller. I'm assuming this means take control of the player controller. Okay, it has the power to see where the mouse lives in the 3D world. What up, guys? Maybe let me go and just put some glasses on. There we go. Okay, here's what you must learn before you code in Unreal Engine 5. The function getHitResult under cursor by channel requires three main things: eCollision, VUCCC underscore visibility. The NPC is already set to the block. Okay, already set to block this. What up, guys? This is like the code from last stream. I just want to go ahead and do something here. Maybe I'm gonna go with something like my player, and then let's see, I might go ahead. I want to try actually adding this content on my own. So I'm gonna go to something like my home. I'm positive you had like a home option here. Let me open my Unreal Engine real quick. I'm gonna go to something like Tilty. There we go, the tiny home button. I'm gonna create a new project, go with something like blank, because I want to actually work on writing this project from scratch as well. Speaking of which, while this project is being created, I'm gonna go ahead and get Gemini up here again. There we go. Okay, since it's command the practice question, before I let you touch the precious LMB underscore press, which basically means left mouse button underscore pressed function again, answer me this. To prove you weren't napping yesterday in your apixel attack code, you used cast npc get actor. Why do you need the cast the actor? Okay, what happens to the code if the mouse clicks on the floor which is not an npc and we try to call receive hit without checking the cast? Okay, let me say something like it will still register as an attack. The reason we use cast is because we want to tell the player controller that this actor is the only thing that I want to attack. Okay, or else it would be null. There we go. Guys, it's so hard to phrase it, but I think I'm trying to get a good grasp of like, whatchamacallit, the cast stuff and all that. Listen to me, you're swimming in the right direction, but you're breathing underwater. Tell the player controller the controller doesn't care, the compiler is the one you need to convince. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus, said by Bruce Lee. Listen closely because the stream is watching. You grapple with the foundation of C++, the truth about casting. When the line trace hits something, it returns a pointer to an actor. Okay? That is the base class. Every character, table, and dust particle in the level is an actor. If you try to call receive hit on a plain actor, the compiler will scream at you. Because actors don't have a receive hit function, only your NPC does. The casting process, the test. Cast a NPC hit actor is you asking the engine if the specific memory address actually formatted like an NPC. The result, if it is, you get a pointer to that NPC. If it isn't, like if you hit the floor, you get null PDR. I see. The safety, by chance, if targets NPC, okay, you prevent the program from trying to read NPC data from another floor object. I see. If you don't check the null, you're inviting a segmentation fault to destroy your progress. So it says the lesson beyond the click. Now that you understand the who the cast. Okay, we need to improve what. Right now, your receive it function just prints. Okay, let me say something like. Okay, I'm gonna actually work on a new project. Let me go all the way up here. Let's get this Unreal Engine here because I want to see what should I call it? I want to see if I remember my old content as well before actually moving on to something new, because I think I got a pretty good grasp of the line tracing or the raycasting. Is that how I pronounce it? There we go. Let's go with new level. I'm gonna go ahead and create a basic level. Okay, perfect. Now for my basic level, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say, isn't there a home option here? Maybe not. So I'm gonna exit my Unreal Engine. Let's go ahead and open this. There we go. Okay, I think that's actually perfect. Then let's open my Unreal Engine here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create a class. This is going to be a character class, and I'm gonna kind of speed run this part. I'm gonna go ahead and call my character something like, I don't know, I'll go with something like maybe I might go with something like, okay, I need to know good character names. Let's go with common. Okay, can't go with common. I need a few character names. Maybe I go with something like, what if I name it Gemini? Okay, hold up, guys. Let me actually think. Pikachu. There we go. Guys, I can actually think of a better name. Okay, and while that's actually adding to the project, I might eat something real quick. There we go. Okay, once it's added to the project, I'm going to go ahead and be loyal. Now, I'm going to quickly make my player, add key controls to my player and all that stuff. So, in my Unreal Editor, let me actually exit that. Let's go ahead and open my Unreal Engine. I'm going to go under Content, and then under my Content, I'm going to go ahead and right-click and create a new folder. I'm going to go ahead and call this folder something like Input. There we go. Let's go with Input. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and double-click this. Let's go ahead and right-click. I'm going to go ahead and add a input mapping context. There we go. Let's go with input mapping context. And I'm going to go ahead and name it something like IMC_default, which basically stands for input mapping context_default. Then I'm going to go ahead and add an action input. Let's go with something like action input or input action. I'm going to name it something like IA move. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to right click again and add another input action. Let's go with something like input action. I'm going to name this something like IA look, because I need a enhanced input action for moving and looking, because I'm not going to be using legacy inputs here. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with all this, I'm going to go ahead and double click my IA move. Let's get this tab right here. I'm going to go ahead and change the default digital boolean to like a 2D vector, because my character is going to be working in the 2D vectors position, which means in the x-axis and y-axis. I don't want to move in the z-axis. That's it. I'm going to go with something like look. My look is going to be 2D vector as well, or axis 2D, because I want my character to just look all around him, like in the x-axis and in the y-axis, but not really in the z-axis. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and double-click my IMC default. In my IMC default, I'm going to add a map element. Then I'm going to click the plus icon beside mappings, and let's say click the plus button again. Let's set this to something like IA move. I'm going to click the plus button. Let's say 2 more times, because I need 4 inputs for me to move forward, backwards, left, and right. I'm going to move forward, clicking W, backwards, clicking S, and then to the left, clicking A, and to the right, clicking D. Now, for my W, I'm going to, since I am moving in the Y-axis with my W and S, I need to add a modifier. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and add a Swiss input axis value modifier that gives me access to moving in the, or that gives me access of the Y-axis. And then I'm going to go ahead and close my W, add an S as well. Now, for my S, I want to go backwards. If I just add a Swiss input axis modifier that gives me access to the Y-axis, I'm going to be moving forward or in the same direction as my W, but I want to move in the opposite direction of my W. So I'm going to go ahead and add another modifier. This time it's going to be called something like negate. What up, guys? Let me just go ahead and mute myself. Already mic testing. Alright guys, just had to go and check something up. Okay, that's now once I'm done with my negate, that's actually pretty much it. For my A and D, if I don't add a Swiss input axis value by default, I am going to be moving in the x-axis. So I'm only going to go ahead and let's say add a modifier to my A of negate, because if I did add negate, then my A and D would move in the same exact direction. With a negate modifier, they're going to move in opposite directions. And that's pretty much it for my move. I'm going to go ahead and click plus again. This time for my IA look, I'm going to, let's say, require maybe one parameter here of of my mouse. So I'm gonna go ahead and move towards the left or right, depending on where my mouse moves in the x-axis. Then I'm gonna go ahead and click plus. Now I'm gonna move forward and backward depending on where my mouse moves in the y-axis. I'm gonna go with mouse is y. Okay, perfect. And that's like pretty much it. That's x-axis. Now, having the having the Swiss input axis value gives me access to the y-axis. But if I don't have the Swiss input axis value, I'm just going to be moving in the x-axis. So for the time being, both my x and y is in charge of moving me in the x-axis. So for my y, I'm just going to go ahead and add a modifier of the, let's say, Swiss input axis value. And that's like pretty much it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go to something like my untitled project here. In my project, I'm going to go all the way up here. And this is like something like preference based. I did not like my floor to be that big, so I'm going to go ahead and decrease the size a little. What up, guys? Let's click the center button and then decrease this a bit. There we go. Okay, perfect. Next, I'm going to go to my code. Now let's get to adding code for my Pikachu. Okay, go ahead and eat something real quick. Okay, so firstly, in my header files, let's see. Is there something that I want to add? Maybe I want to go ahead and add a camera to my player, so I'm going to go ahead and create a class called something like camera. Okay, I'm going to go with something like a uCamera component. Okay, and then I want to go ahead and create another class. Let's go ahead and end this way, semicolon. And I could just go ahead, instead of adding these empty classes, I could go with something like include a parentheses from, let's say, my camera. I want to go ahead and include my camera components as header files. I could do this. There we go. I could do this, but the reason I don't really do this is because the header files are just meant to declare stuff. I go ahead and define them inside my C++. So including this would go ahead and load all my components for my camera component, if that made any sense. And I had a typo there. Okay, that's it. Next step. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go with something like a uSpringArm component. Let's go with something like a uSpringArm component. Then end that with a semicolon as well. And then I'm going to create another class called something like, what else would I need? Let's think. I might need input action, so I'm going to go with something like uInput action ending with a semicolon. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and create a class called something like uInput, let's say mapping context. There we go. Then I'm going to end that with a semicolon as well. Is there anything else that I need? Maybe I might need a structure. So I'm going to go with something like a structure of f input action value. Let's go with something like input action value. Okay, now that's pretty much it. And F stands for structure here. That's is there something else that I need? Let's think. So maybe under my protected data member, under begin play, I'm gonna go ahead and create a few properties that I wanna be able to edit inside of my Unreal Engine. To do that, firstly, I might go with something like a camera boom. So I'm gonna go with something like maybe a camera boom. There we go. Okay, I don't think I want them to be like one word, so I'm gonna go with camera boom here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a U property. Let's say I want to create a U property where I want to be able to I want my camera boom to be visible anywhere. So I'm gonna go with something like visible anywhere. There we go. So it's visible anywhere. And then I want my camera boom to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read it, not really edit it. So I'm gonna go with blueprint read only. Lastly, I want my camera booms as category. Let's go with something like category to be equal to something like camera. Basically, what the category does is it like categorizes my camera to be inside of my let's say details is stable here, or my details is that called tab? Let me open my Unreal Engine. There we go. So I basically have a details is tab here. And if I were to type something like, let's say camera, for now, I won't find anything because I don't really have my content here, but then later on, I will find it. So I'm going to go with something like category. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and close this. Okay, so under my U property, I'm going to, let's say, go ahead and create a U camera component. Hold up, guys. Let me mute myself real quick. Give me a second. There we go, guys. There was just some random noises. Okay, that's let's see. So I'm gonna go with something like a U camera component. So let's go with camera component. Okay, now my U camera component is going to be represented by a pointer called something like camera boom. Let's go with camera boom. Okay, perfect. Then I'm just going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. That's it. Is there anything else that I might need? Maybe I want to go ahead and create a follow camera as well, which is basically going to be my, let's say something like, I don't know, my actual camera components. I'm going to go with something like U property, where I want my actual camera component to be visible anywhere. I'm going to go with visible anywhere. I want my actual camera component to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read it, not really add any changes to it type stuff, because most of the content that I am going to be using for this program is just me writing code here. Although there's like people who like actually use blueprints for writing code as well. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and categorize it in the camera. And guys, I won't be spending much time here because I do gotta. Okay, my bad guys. This is gonna be spring arm component. There we go. Let's go with something like use spring arm components. There we go. Okay, and guys, I won't be spending much time writing this because this is like the most basic code of adding movement. Okay, let's go with something like camera components. I should have like named the stream something like guys, I cannot phrase right now. Okay, I should have named the stream something like game logic instead of like target logic. Don't you get bored and tired from having to explain everything? Honestly, I do, but then I feel like it's, I don't know why I actually do it for some reason. Maybe because it's helpful or something like that. Okay, that's it. Now once I'm done with this, this is where I'm going to be adding some of the new content for like the enhanced input and all that stuff. For example, I have a move input that I've created, so I'm going to go ahead and create something like a move action. Now my move action is going to be having a U property where I want my move action. I want to be able to edit my move action anywhere, so I'm going to go with anywhere. I want my move action to be something like blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read my move action, not really edit it. Lastly, I want to go ahead and categorize. I'm going to go with something like category, which is going to be equal to something like input. There we go. Okay, and if you guys don't really understand what the category does right now, as soon as I'm done with adding my look action as well, I'm going to show it to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and create a U input action. Let's go with U input action, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like, maybe I go with move action. There we go. And then I end it with a semicolon. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says something like look action. The reason I am like adding these actions is because I do have key controls that checks these things type stuff. That said, okay, 2026 goals. Honestly, for my 2026 goal, just on my YouTube, I do want to try hit like, let's say, maybe 100K, guys. That said, besides that, I think like in my programming series goal, I want to at least have like another whole complete successful series. And I'm kind of curious to see myself in like 2027. That's it. I'm going to go with something like U property as well here, where I want to go ahead and keep it to be edit anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and set my look action to be edit anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read my look action. And I want my category to be equal to something like input. I got to make sure my spelling is correct. There we go. Okay, and that's actually about it for the time being. I might want to go ahead, I might want to add like a right mouse button action because I only want to look around and turn on my screen if I click my right mouse button. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to open my Unreal Engine. I'm going to click my content drawer. I'm going to go ahead and right click. Let's add a new input action. So I'm going to go with something like an input action. There, I'm going to click this and name it something like IA_RMB, which basically means right mouse button. Okay. This is going to be a digital boolean value, so I won't have to like change the like 2D axis, because me clicking button or not clicking button, it doesn't matter if I'm actually having a digital boolean value. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and click plus. Excuse me guys, I'm gonna set this to IA_RMB, which is basically right mouse button, and then I'm gonna go ahead and click this. There we go. Okay, and that's like right about it. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go all the way down here. I'm going to add a comment that says something like right mouse button action. Now, for my right mouse button action, what up, guys? Let me actually myself. Already mic testing, mic testing. Alright guys, there was some background noises. There we go. Okay, perfect. So where was I at? Okay, so I was at my R&B action. Let's go with something like action. Now, for my R&B action, speaking of which, I actually forgot to add something like a U input action here for my look action as well. I'm gonna go with something like U input action, which points towards, let's say, something like a look action. Okay, and now that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, for my R&B action, I'm gonna go ahead and create another U property where I want my R&B action to be something like edit anywhere, Property. I think I spelled it correct. I want my R&B action, my right mouse button action, to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read this. And lastly, I want to go ahead and categorize it. Let's go with something like category is going to be equal to input. And guys, I wonder if I should have created a pseudocode before I actually wrote a code, because I've like learned about pseudocodes these days. That's like a fake code that you add before you start writing your syntaxes. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and create another U input action called something like R&B action. I'm going to go with something like R&B action. There we go. And then let's go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Whoops. Alright up guys, let's go with something like action. There. Okay, now once I'm done with that as well, I'm lastly gonna go ahead and create a default mapping. Let's go with something like default mapping. Basically what the default mapping is, if you guys remember my input mapping context, I'm basically gonna represent that with a pointer called something like default mapping. For example, firstly, as usual, I'm gonna create a U property where I want my default mapping. I want to be able to edit it anywhere. I want it to be blueprint read only. Let's go with blueprint read only. There we go. Let's go with something like read only. And I want my category to be something like input. I want to categorize this in my inputs section. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and create a U input mapping context. Let's go with something like context, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like default mapping. And you guys might be wondering, where am I getting these random U inputs from? I did like go ahead and create classes here, but these are completely empty classes. I'm just saying the header file that it's fine to like actually accept these classes even though they're empty, because later when it goes to my C++, these are going to be defined in there. Okay, this is like pretty much it now. Once I'm done with that, bro, can you show me your setup? It's setup. It is probably board table or wooden table. Actually guys, if you guys do watch my building a PC video on my channel, let me actually show you guys. I did like show my setup there, because right now I can't really show my setup because my webcam is like connected to my actual PC using a wire. So it's like a USB, it's like wired, it's not like Bluetooth or something like that. And that said, if I would like go to my channel real quick, let me go to my videos. There we go. Okay, let me go ahead and get Gemini up here. Okay, let's go ahead and get this here. There we go. So I do have a video in my channel that where I built a PC from scratch, and I did like show you guys the PC I built. Hold up, let me actually open it real quick. Okay, give me a sec, guys. Let me just go ahead and just open that. Get that. There we go. Alright, perfect. Let me go ahead and get that back here. There. So if I were to get this here, this is my setup. Guys, why are there so many ads? I used to never get ads. Hold up. I don't want to get any copyrights. There we go. Okay, so basically, if I were to go back to my coming up, this is the PC I created, and this is basically like floor mats and all that stuff. This one, I started off with my old setup. That's where I sleep, guys. Like literally, I'm sitting here, I just move my chair and I sleep there. That said, okay, no, is it wooden table or simple? Actually, it's my bed. So this is like once I created my PC, and then at the end of everything, right here. So this is basically my current setup. Let's go back here. Okay, so this is like just white papers above that thing, and then I have like my PC here, or my laptop here, my monitors there. This is my bed frame. Actually, I like gave up my sacrifice, my bed frame, guys. Okay, and then those are the tiny boxes. There we go. That's like a tiny tissue there. Okay, these are basically stuff connected and all that thing. If you guys do want to see this from scratch, you guys can like check the video out. Okay, not gonna spend much time on that. Thank you. Okay, let's go down. Now, once I'm done with that, what was the next thing that I was going to do? I was most likely going to add a boolean check, so I could go ahead and add a comment that says something like, maybe a boolean checks. Now, the reason I am actually adding my boolean check is because I want to check if my right mouse button is being pressed or is not being pressed. So I'm going to create a boolean value to check. A boolean value to check if is RMB pressed. I'm gonna check is RMB pressed. I'm gonna set it to be false. Initially, it's gonna be false. And then I'm gonna go ahead and create a few Boolean functions. Okay, it's not literally gonna be a Boolean function. I don't know what else can I name it to like set this to true and false. So it's gonna be true if my void function or if this function is being called. So if my, let's say, RMB underscore pressed function is called, then I'm gonna go ahead and set my Boolean variable of is RMB pressed to be equal to something like true, ending with a semicolon. And now, when it's set to true, I'm gonna do something else. When I wanna move my actual player, when I wanna turn him around, clicking my right mouse button, I do not want to see my mouse pointer on my screen, so I'm gonna try to remove that. So I'm gonna go with an if statement to check if something like if my A player controller, which is going to be represented by a pointer called PC, is let's say equal to, I'm gonna go with a cast. Let's go with something like cast. Can you exclude console command, show debug, enhanced inputs, and see things are pressed? No need for Boolean boilerplate. I see you can execute console command, show debug, enhanced input, and see the things are pressed. Honestly, I don't think that I've went all the way that far to like learn that stuff. That said, I might actually do that before that, so I might want to do something as well. Guys, it is actually kind of cold. Is it cold for you guys? There we go. So A player controller, which is going to be represented by PC's, is pointer is going to be equal to cast player controller with a pair of parentheses of my actual controller. Okay, then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my pair of curly braces, I'm gonna go ahead and point my player controller towards the Boolean variable of show mouse cursor. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my show mouse cursor to be equal to, let's say, something like false. So while I'm turning or rotating my player around, I won't be able to see my mouse cursor. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add another void function. I'm gonna go with something like void of RMB underscore released. There we go. Now for my RMB underscore released, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say do something. If my right mouse button has been released, I want to set my Boolean variable of is RMB pressed to be, let's say, something like false. My RMB is no longer going to be pressed. No need for Boolean boilerplate. Definitely try that first. You can apply it in your begin play for game mode / player state and controller pawn. I haven't really worked much with, I haven't worked with pawns in general actually. I should like work on those things. Okay, do you daily solve LeetCode problems to enhance your logic skills or directly learn complex logic optimization by a project or work? Actually, the only time I do work on code these days is when I stream, because off stream I do have like a lot of college stuff to do. And I have been holding, like many of you guys did say me to like work on LeetCode, but I actually have been holding myself back on like learning LeetCode because I want to like have a whole series where I work on LeetCode. That said, why ever won DSA? I see. Okay, honestly guys, maybe after this series I did think to have like another series where I like make a chatbot, but before that I might have a in between like a quick little fun series where I do work on LeetCode. I want to kind of see and like see what the LeetCode is about. That said, I'm going to go with something like a player controller and let's say point it towards controller. Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces. I'm going to go ahead and point my player controller towards the Boolean variable of show mouse cursor. I'm going to go with something like show mouse cursor, okay, to be equal to something like true, ending with a semicolon. So only when my player is turning around, my mouse cursor will not be seen. Once I'm not turning around, I'll be able to see my mouse cursor. And that's like right about it. Let me go ahead and eat some oats real quick. Okay, that's actually about it. Now I'm gonna go a bit lower and then let's add another comment. For this comment, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and add the basic function that I will need. So for example, I might need a void function called something like move to actually move my player when this function is called. It is going to be called when I click any key buttons in my keyboard. So I'm going to be requiring a constant parameter of a f input action value. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Next up, I'm going to go with another void function of something like look that requires a constant parameter of a f input action value as well. Guys, a small little key detail that I forgot. My f input action value is going to be requiring the memory address of a values parameter. There we go. And maybe I fix my typo here. Let's go with something like f input action value. Let's go with action value, which is going to be represented by a values parameter. Okay, once I'm done with all this, I think that's about it, right? Okay, I think that's about it. I'm gonna hit Control S to save the code. Now that I've declared a bunch of things here, I'm gonna define them inside my C++ file. To define them, firstly, I will have to include a bunch of header files. For example, if I want to go ahead and load in my camera component and my spring arm component for my player's camera / my player, what he's gonna see, I will be adding those in my constructor, but I won't be having access to a bunch of different keywords. For example, I want to create a default sub object. Let's go ahead and remove this real quick. There we go. I want to create a default sub object for my camera boom. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that equal to, let's say, create default Pikachu.h camera boom. Guys, I'm assuming this is just my compiler or my editor. What was it called? There we go. It's called camera boom. Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go with create default sub object with a pair of ankle braces, where I'm going to be requiring, let's say, something like a U camera, or actually U spring arm component. So I'm going to go with something like a U spring arm component. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, I want to go ahead and call my spring arm component something like camera boom. Let's go with camera boom. There we go. And then I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Now, here's the thing. I have my spring arm component here, but I really don't know what to do with my spring arm component because this is an empty class technically that I created right here. So the thing that I do have to do here is I'm going to go ahead and include, let's say I want to include something from my game framework. I'm going to go with something like game framework. I want to go ahead and include my spring arm component says header file. Now, from my game framework, I get my spring arm components as header files. My spring arm components as header files consist of the use spring arm component in it, which is basically an actual object type stuff that is going to now be displayed inside of my Unreal Engine. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and point my camera boom, let's say towards a setup attachment. I'm going to go with something like a setup attachment. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, where I'm going to be requiring a parameter of a root component. Basically, what a root component is like with my root component, I can be able to see if my camera boom is either moving, turning, rotating, or scaling itself, or if I technically want to scale it type stuff. That's the next step. I'm going to go ahead and point my camera boom towards a target arm length as well. And guys, these are like, it might seem a bit complicating at first, but later on it gets like really easy because you guys can think of camera boom like a selfie stick. I want my selfie stick to be away from my player, not like close to my characters. That's the same exact thing as my target arm length. I want it to be, let's say, 200 centimeters away from my player. So there is some distance between my actual camera and my player. Okay, and I might fix my typo. Target arm length. There we go. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say point my camera boom towards a boolean variable of use spawn control rotation, which is going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. This helps me like rotate around use spawn control rotation. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with all that stuff, I'm gonna go all the way down here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and create another default sub object for my follow camera. Basically, CAMERA. Basically, what my follow camera is, I'm going to create a default sub object first. What up, guys? Let's go with create default sub object. There we go. Now, basically, what my follow camera is. My follow camera is my U camera component, which is my actual camera. Okay, and spring arm is basically the stick that the camera is going to be standing on. I'm going to go ahead and call this something like follow camera in my actual game, ending with a semicolon. Now, here's the thing. I can have access to my U camera component because I created an empty class of U camera component here, but there's nothing really inside of it. So to avoid that, I'm going to go ahead and include a header file. So let's go ahead and include a pair of parentheses. I want to include something from my camera. For my camera, I want to include my camera component. Bro is still writing character movement. 90% of his streams are writing character movement. Now, bro, Stevie, I don't think you were here for like the other streams. This is like a brand new project to see everything I've learned so far. I even added logic where I can tap on my object or my NPC, and if he takes enough damage, he's gonna actually, disappear type stuff. But before that, I wanted to like go with something like my basics, so I know that I do not like forget this part. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like camera component.h, which is basically my camera components as header files. Okay, and then next up, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go with something like follow camera. I'm gonna go ahead and follow my camera towards a setup attachment. Let's say something like setup attachment. Now, for my setup attachment, instead of having it to be root component, camera CAMERACOM, there we go. Okay, instead of my setup attachment to be root component, I don't want it to be a separate component of its own. I want my camera to be attached to my camera boom, which is my spring arm component. So my parameter here is gonna be my camera boom. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and point my follow camera towards, let's say, boolean check of use font control rotation. I'm gonna go with font control rotation. That is gonna be something like true. Actually false. Ending with a semicolon. And now that's pretty much it. Once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go under my begin play. Under my begin play, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and work on my enhanced inputs now. Okay, I'd like to see you use a VS Code, bro. Honestly, I used to use VS Code like from when I started C++. Later on, when I moved on to like SDL, I thought that Visual Studio is like much better and has much more control over my actual code. I mean, not control over my code, like much more options here type stuff. It's hard to phrase that. That's it. I've seen the last 2 weeks. It's been writing character movement plus something small that doesn't work for some chat, but 90% is writing character movement. Guys, that's actually crazy. By yesterday's stream, I did not even like work with character movement. That's it. The reason I do write this stuff again is it's really important to like review your stuff, because if you don't review what we did, we just basically forget it. That's it. Hiding Longster, appreciate you joining the stream. So now for my begin play, I want to go ahead and get my enhanced inputs as my local players as subsystems, if that made any sense. So firstly, I'm gonna go with something like if of parentheses. I'm gonna go with if my player controller, let's say if my player controller, which is going to be represented by PC's local variable, is equal to cast if of ankle braces. I'm gonna go with a player controller. And the reason we use a caster is to check that I'm talking about my literal player controller, because there could be like multiple controllers that I have. CONTROLLER. There we go. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of parentheses and call this something like controller. I mean, not call this, it is called controller. Then I'm gonna go with a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my pair of curly braces, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say do something. Firstly, I want to add another if statement to check if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like subsystem. There we go. Will we be trying the console commands? Honestly, I will actually. I mean, I'm going to be trying like a controller, but I don't know what you mean by console command. Okay, what do you do today? I'm actually working on the target logic where I can like target my player and like I can, for example, shoot something and then I shoot my target, and if my target receives enough HP and his health goes below 0, he kind of disappears type stuff. He's writing character movement, guys. It's so funny. Okay, that's it. What's your goal? Is this 2-dimensional or 3D? Actually, it is like 3D. That's it. Now, the reason I can't really add my enhanced input local player subsystem here is because I did not go ahead and include, let's say, something like my enhanced input subsystem. Subsystems is header files. Once I do that, I get access to my U enhanced input local player subsystem. Okay, I'm gonna check if my U enhanced input local player subsystem is equal to. Wow, nice, sounds advanced. Actually, that does make sense. It is like kind of hard, but I feel like I actually got a pretty good grasp of it. And that said, I'm gonna check if it's equal to. Excuse me, guys. I'm gonna go with something like cast. And let's say U enhanced input. I think I spelled enhanced wrong. ENHANCED. Okay, if my U enhanced input local player subsystem, let's say if my U enhanced input local player subsystem here is gonna be okay, I won't be using a cast here. I'm gonna be using a U local player. There we go. And guys, these are the kind of parts that I am still kind of vague on to like explain it, but I feel it is kind of easy to understand it. Okay, let's go with something like get subsystem. Okay, so from my you enhance input local player subsystem, I get my subsystem. So you local player, I get subsystem. This is actually correct. Then I'm gonna go with the pair of parentheses here. In my pair of parentheses, I'm gonna go ahead and add the function of get local player with a pair of parentheses, and that's pretty much it. Guys, this was actually a handful to write. Okay, this is gonna be get local player. What functions? So identifier get local player is undefined. It's rudimentary, it's just attachment logic and some input binding. That actually does make sense. Okay, maybe I go with interlessons. So get local player. Okay, maybe I go ahead and just exit this function real quick. What parameter should I add here? Let's see. So I might go with something like shift space. Let's go with something like get local. Okay, I'm positive it was like get local player, or was it something like okay, from my local player, I want to get my local player. Okay, the reason I might not be able to use my get local player could be, let's say, because I need to go ahead and include, let's say, something like enhance. Let's go with something like enhanced input component dot h. My enhanced input components is header files. There we go. Once I'm done with that, I could go ahead and include my local player or my local player. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to add a pair of curly braces. In my pair of curly braces, get local player. What is wrong here? Am I doing something wrong here? Let me think. So, There we go. My PC points to my player controller points towards get local player. Okay, now once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say maybe point my subsystem towards, let's say, something like add mapping. I'm gonna go ahead and add a mapping. By mapping, let's say add mapping context. Basically, my mapping context is going to be my input mapping context, which is my default mapping in this case. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, what are you going to work on its appearance? Yeah, actually, I will be working on its appearance as well. I'm just working on its logic for the time being because I did everything that I would need to do inside my Unreal Engine. Like, I've done adding my move function, I'm done adding my IA look, I'm done adding a bunch of, inputs here, or my enhanced inputs here, if that makes any sense. Now, I'm just working on the logic here. The second parameter here is going to be 0, which is technically my priority. Okay, and that's like right about it. Once I'm done with all this, I'm finally going to move on the part where I work on my move function. So I'm going to add a comment that says something like move function. Here's the thing, before my move function, I really might want to move on my... I really might want to work on, let's say, my Boolean functions. Now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this because I just realized a tiny thing. Let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go ahead and delete everything up till here. And this with a semicolon. Then I'm going to go with another word function called something like RMB underscore release with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. That's about it. Let's hit Control S to save the code. I'm going to go here. Let's go with RMB functions, my right mouse button functions, and then paste that here. So I define my RMB functions here. Okay, it doesn't really look like a game to me, honestly, because I haven't like included stuff. I am just starting, so like I would have to go ahead and include my character and all that stuff. Plus, I did not like make a map and all that, but I'm actually gonna get there in a bit. Okay, so this is going to be Boolean variable of is RMB press, Boolean variable of is RMB release. Okay, this is going to be show mouse cursor. Now here's the thing. It says B is RMB pressed is undefined. Why is it undefined? I'm assuming it's just my editor, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. And then controller. I went with something like controller. I should have had access to this. Okay, the reason I don't have access to this is because my RMB function is from my A Pikachu class. There we go. Okay, perfect. Then let's go with something like A Pikachu here as well. Guys, I don't know why did I call my player Pikachu. Okay, perfect. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and work on my move function now. Let's go with something like move function. for my move function, I'm gonna go ahead and get a white function, which is gonna be, let's say, from my Pikachu class again. Okay, which is gonna be, I don't know, maybe pointing towards the move function that I define or declared inside of my header files. My move function requires a parameter. It requires, let's say, something like a constant parameter of a f input action value. Let's go with something like action value with a memory address of, let's say, values as parameter. Okay. Okay, I'm usually lazy and procrastinating. You inspire me to open my VS Code right now. Honestly, that does sound kind of cool, guys. Okay, let's see. So this is RMB pressed. That is RMB released. Okay, that fixed this issue. Okay, why does it say RMB is undefined? Let's copy this and then let's go ahead and paste it back here. Doesn't that fix it? I think it should fix it. This is RMB pressed and RMB released. R-E-L... Oh, I spelled it wrong here. No wonder. R-E-L-E-A-S-E-D. There, that should fix it all, guys. Okay, now while that's actually fixing itself, I'm gonna go down here and let's say I want to add a scale value. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a scale value. Because for moving our player, we would need like two main things: our scale value and our world direction, which way the player is facing. So I'm gonna go with something like scale value. Now for my scale value, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and create a f vector. I'm gonna create a f vector. This is 3D now. Regular f vector gives me access to x, y, and z values, but I want it to be two-dimensional. I only want access of my x-axis and y-axis. So I'm going to go with something like f vector 2D, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like movement vector. Okay, perfect. Now my movement vector is going to be equal to my values parameter here, dot the get. I'm assuming it's template with a pair of angle braces, which requires a parameter of my f vector 2D. Okay, and then I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And that's pretty much it for my scale value, guys. If I go ahead and eat something real quick. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and add a if statement here. Inside my if statement, let's say I'm going to go ahead and check if my controller is not equal to null PTR. Only if my controller is not equal to null, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go ahead and let's say, I don't know, maybe create a rotator. So I'm gonna go with something like a constant rotator. And basically a rotator is in charge of actually turning my player depending on where my camera is facing, not where my player's this pivot point is facing. If that makes any sense, because this is like enhanced inputs type stuff. Okay, so my F rotator, I forgot to add the F. Okay, is going to be represented by a local variable called rotation that is going to be equal to my controller, which points towards my get control rotation. Okay, with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go with another constant f rotator, which is going to be represented by a function, I'm assuming this time, or a local function called something like yaw rotation. That requires three parameters. First is going to be 0, second is going to be my rotation dot yaw, and the third is going to be, let's say, 0 as well, ending with a semicolon. I'm assuming there's like x, y, and z. What this basically does is this actually flattens my 3D object to be a 2D object. Said, how are you doing, Geeksu Gamers? I appreciate you joining the stream. This is going to be a rotator. There we go. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with all that, I'm gonna go ahead and add the second most important thing that I need, which is my world direction. For my world direction, I'm gonna go ahead and create a f vector here, where my f vector is going to be represented by a local variable called something like forward direction. Okay, which is gonna be equal to, let's go with something like a I'm assuming it's like a rotation matrix, so I'm going to go with rotation matrix that requires a parameter, f rotation matrix. Let's go with something like an f rotation. Whoops. Hold up, guys. Let me go here and type something like an f rotation matrix that requires a parameter of my yaw rotation, which is basically move depending on where my camera is facing or my camera is looking. Yaw rotation dot the get unit axis. I'm gonna go ahead and get my unit axis, which is gonna be an e-axis x-axis using a scope resolution operator, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm gonna go with another f vector because I just don't want to move forward and backward using my forward rotation. I want to move towards the left and right as well. Let's say I'm going to do that using my right direction. Okay, my right direction is going to be equal to my f rotation matrix. Okay, with a pair of parentheses that requires a parameter of your rotation again. Dot the get unit axis. I think I spelled rotation wrong. What up, guys? There we go. Dot the get unit axis. I'm gonna go ahead and get my unit axis with a pair of parentheses of something like e-axis with a scope resolution operator of y-axis, ending with a semicolon. And then I go ahead and chow down real quick. Okay, once I'm done with it, I'm gonna go ahead and add something like a movement input. What up, guys? There we go. Let's go with something like movement input. And now that's about it. From my movement input, I'm going to go ahead and use the add input movements function, okay, which requires add movement input. My bad, guys. This is not going to be input movement. I'm going to go ahead and add a movement input, which now requires, let's say, a parameter of actually two parameters. First is going to be my y direction, which I created here. Second is going to be my scale value, which I created up here. I'm just going to combine that. First is going to be forward direction. Okay, the second is going to be my scale value. Let me avoid some typos, guys. There we go. Second is my scale direction, which is my movement vector. Okay, now my movement vector is not enough as it is because it contains the value of both my x-axis and my y-axis. I only want to get the value of my, let's say, y-axis actually, not x-axis. Let's go with y-axis because me moving forward or backwards is in charge of like the y-axis. Left and right is in charge of the x-axis. So I'm going to go with something like movement vector dot the y-axis, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another movement input. Let's go with something like movement input, which requires a parameter of a y direction, which here it's going to be something like right direction. The second parameter is going to be my movement vector again. Are you planning to work in a company or building your own games? Actually, I don't like the idea of working in general, like with some other company, unless I really have to, guys. That said, I do want to like maybe be an entrepreneur, guys. Maybe like have a business of my own. Okay, hey bro, guide me. I just completed my DSA, and what should I do now? It actually depends on what you like actually want to do. Do you want to be a software engineer, an AI engineer, or like I don't know, there are like different kinds of engineers. They all require different kinds of skills. So depending on what you want to do, I would like recommend you to research stuff and like find the things that you want to really learn and work on learning those things. That's it. Let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And that's pretty much it for my movement vector. Now, next up, once I'm done with my move function, when I said vector, guys, I meant function. Once I'm done with my move function, I'm going to go with something like a look function. Now, for my look function, I'm going to go with something like void. I'm going to create a void function from my a Pikachu. I don't know why did I name it Pikachu. It's so confusing to type that name out. Okay, my a Pikachu is going to be getting access to define the function that I declared in my header file called look. My look function requires a constant parameter of a f input action value. And here's a small little detail that I actually kind of overlooked. Is this called look function? It's called look, so it's going to be okay, there we go, which requires the parameter of value. Now here's the thing, I can use my f input action value here, but the tiny thing that I overlooked was that my f input action value was defined inside as a structure inside of my header file. So even though I can access them, they're completely empty. To avoid this mistake or like to actually get some value for it, I gotta go ahead and include my input action value. Let's go with input action value dot h, which is my input action values and header files. And now my f input action here actually has some kind of data inside of it. That's that. Once I'm done with this, maybe I'm gonna go ahead and eat some oats. I'm currently a vet student of AI. I see. Honestly, does the bet stand for like bachelors? Okay, and if it is AI, I would like recommend you learn Python unless like there's like some different kind of stuff that you guys learn. I would recommend you research as well, but then I've heard that Python is really good for AI, like even Rust. If you guys do want my Python roadmap, make sure to join my Discord server. I do like have a roadmap that I use like for my Python for 100 days series. I can actually give that to you guys. What is DSA? I forgot the full form. Let me check it real quick. Full form of DSA, because someone did say me to work with DSA a long time ago. Data structures and algorithms. There we go. Okay, that's enough for my look function. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and require a scale value. So I'm going to add a comment that says something like scale value. Because my add controller your pitch input does require only one parameter of scale value, not my direction, because I'm not literally moving my player forward type stuff. That's enough for my scale value. I'm going to go ahead and let's say create a f vector. There we go. Let's go with f vector 2D, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like movement vector. I might go with turn vector. There we go, which is going to be equal to, again, my values as parameter dot the get function with a pair of ankle braces that requires my f vector 2D in it. Let's go with f vector 2D with a pair of parentheses to invoke the function, ending with a semicolon, unless you spell your vector wrong. There we go. Okay, once I'm done with that, I might eat some more oats. Okay, now once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and let's say add a if statement here. Let's go ahead and add a if statement. To check something, I'm going to check if my boolean value of is RMB pressed is set to true, and only if this is set to true, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to go ahead and add a controller. Let's say your input. Basically, your input is in charge of me rotating in the x-axis, and the reason it's set to controller instead of movement up there because my mouse is technically considered a controller. I completed Python with libraries, but whenever time of logic, I stuck in there to think the logic, and eventually I used ChatGPT. Here's a very common mistake, guys. Many of you guys think that I do the exact same mistake, so I can't be saying, but I don't really do that exact mistake. I would recommend using AI to only understand what you're trying to learn. For example, that's the stuff that I do usually. I use Gemini ChatGPT to like paste the code here. Later, once I have the code, I don't just use that block of code in my program. Instead, I learn what it does and I make sure that I can write it on my own, like how I'm doing right now. But then using AI is like really helpful and all that stuff. It depends on preference as well. Few people prefer reading docs, few people prefer watching tutorials. But the most important thing is like practice. Make sure you actually know what you're doing in a program. If there's a part that you don't really know, if this chunk of code you don't really know what it means, spend or invest some time in learning what that does. Then later on, it will eventually click, and it's gonna be like a second nature to like use those functions and like stuff that's kind of hard to use. If that made any sense, guys, I'm really awful at phrasing. That said, I'm gonna go with something like my turn vector dot the x-axis ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a controller pitch input this time. Pitch input is basically in charge of my player rotating in the y-axis up and down. So I'm gonna go with something like turn vector dot the y-axis. Let's close the pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon, and maybe open my pair of parentheses here. Now here's the thing, I'm gonna set this to be negative, so that just fixes some things. Okay, did I spell it wrong? Add controller pitch input. Okay, let's go with something like add controller pitch input. Okay, perfect. And that's like right about it. I can't really think of anything else to add here, so this is like about it. Now, before I really go ahead and add like some other logic, I'm going to open my Unreal Engine. Guys, let me know if this makes my stream a bit laggy, because sometimes when I use Unreal Engine, my stream does lag up for some reason. Now comes the final part, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and test if it works. Let's go ahead and load in a few a few meshes of mine from Blender. I'm gonna apply all. There we go. Let's go with game items, inputs. Let's go ahead and get my chat back up here. There we go. Now I'm gonna go to my untitled project. The mistake that I always do, I'm gonna save it all first. Make sure you guys keep saving your code. I'm gonna name this something like map, and then let's go ahead and save it here. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and eat something. Practice by building projects using data sets and try to calculate a lot of libraries too. That does make sense, guys. Even like theory is like equally important, but I feel like practice is because theory without experience is like almost nothing. Because like even if I know what to do, I can't do it because I don't know these syntaxes. I mean, I could go online and check those things, but then still. Mm. There we go. So I went ahead and I loaded my actual capsule here. Now, why is it that I do not see my camera in here? Let me check if I went ahead and I loaded everything. So I included my camera component, enhanced input component, camera boom, root component. Okay, that's the defaults. Okay, I've loaded everything in here. So could it be that I don't see my camera component because I got a live compile? There we go. So the live compiling should actually fix it because the good thing about a lot of practice is because you run into countless errors. For example, right now, I've gone through this error so much where like my code really does not add the stuff that I wanted to add in my constructor, but once I compile it, it just fixes everything. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go to something like let's say I'm gonna extend this. Let's go with something like add. I wanna add a static mesh. And guys, this is going to be awful, but I don't really have a Pikachu mesh, so I'm going to go ahead and use my common NPCs as mesh. Okay, this does not look like Pikachu, but still, I spent a lot of time making this mesh in Blender. Okay, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and firstly rotate it towards its pivot point. Let's find its pivot point first. I'm assuming the pivot point faces that way, so I'm going to go with something like E. Let's go with E, and then turn my step all the way. There we go. That's my pivot point. Let me show you guys real quick. You guys see this tiny blue arrow mark here, like down there? That's my pivot point, like there. I want you to turn towards that side. So I'm gonna go there. 20, 30, there. 40, 50, 60, there we go. I think 50 is good. Then I'm gonna go with W. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself a bit lower. I'm gonna get myself a bit towards the left. A bit higher. And now I'm completely inside the capsule from all directions, am I? Maybe like not completely inside the capsule. Hold up, guys. Let's go ahead and get this a bit backwards. Okay, I'm gonna go. And guys, that's my pivot point right there. So I gotta face that way. There. Okay, now that's perfect. Once I'm done with that, let's say the next thing that I want to go ahead and do is extend this a bit more because I will be needing my details panel. And whatchamacallit, this is where I'm going to show you guys why did I create all these several categories here and like my U properties. If I were to go to my Unreal Engine and type something like input, let's click my player here. I'm going to type something like input. In my input, so hold up guys, let me actually mute myself real quick. Already my testing, guys. There was some background noises. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like input. In my input, you guys see these bunch of inputs here. So this is firstly the category that I created of my input. I have a move action here, which is basically my move action here. I have look action, I have RMB action. All that stuff is technically here. I'm gonna click this plus and link my move action U properties' content to my actual IA move. I'm gonna link my look action to my IA look. I'm gonna link my RMB action to my IA underscore RMB. Then I'm gonna link my default mapping to my input mapping context underscore default or IMC underscore default. And now that's about it. Lastly, I'm gonna go with something like possess. I'm gonna go ahead and set my auto possess player from disabled to player 0. What that technically does is I won't be seeing when I run the code, I will be seeing from the camera that I created instead of the camera that Unreal Engine actually gives it to us by default. Bro, why you live so late? Honestly, guys, I do want to go. I would do want to go live a bit sooner, but these days I do like have college as well. So on the weekdays, I like stream once I'm back from college, and on the weekends, like right now, I stream a bit sooner type stuff. That said, did you build the app? Honestly, I am like working on game logic, but eventually I do want to like convert this to like an application type stuff. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and live compile again. Okay, and this should be pretty much it. I should be able to move perfectly now. There we go, patching, and then once the patching is success, I'm gonna go ahead and run my code. Now, this is my player where something is missing. Okay, see, so what's missing here? Can I move? What up, guys? Gotta debug something real quick. Let me go here. So WASD, that's correct. That's correct. Oh, I see. Basically, what's wrong here is even though I added all my content inside my code, I actually did not bind them. Binding is the most important part here. So to bind, I'm gonna go ahead and add an if statement, and then I'm gonna go ahead and check something. I'm gonna check if my enhance input component, let's go with something like if my enhance input component, okay, which is going to be represented by a pointer. If my enhance input component, that is represented by a pointer called something like EIC, is let's say equal to, EIC does stand for enhanced input component, it's just a short form of writing it. I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to a cast checked. Let's go with cast checked with a pair of ankle braces. I'm going to check the cast of my enhanced input component. There we go. Then what up, guys? Let's go with something like enhanced input components. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna check the cast of my enhanced input components. After that, I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of parentheses, which is basically gonna be my player input component. Okay, perfect. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Inside my pair of curly braces, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like bind move action. So I'm gonna go ahead and bind my move action first. To do that, I'm gonna go with something like my EIC, which is my enhanced input component. Are you trying to make a Pokemon battle? Honestly, guys, not really. Like, I didn't know what to name my NPC, so I just went for like a random name called Pikachu. I didn't even have his actual mesh created in Blender. So I'm gonna go with something like EIC, which points towards. I'm gonna go with something like, let's say bind action. I'm gonna bind the action. Now, my bind action function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is, let's say, going to be my action name, where in this case, it's going to be called move action. The second parameter is going to be a trigger event type. So I'm going to go with something like trigger event. Then I'm going to use a scope resolution operator to grab my event type, which is going to be my triggered. Once my move action has been triggered on this object, I want to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and give the memory address from my Pikachu. There we go. Okay, I'm going to use the scope resolution operator to go with something like the move function, ending with a semicolon. And that's like pretty much it for binding. Once I'm done with that binding, I'm going to go with something like bind RMB action. I'm going to go ahead and bind my right mouse button action as well, because I do kind of use that. I'm going to go with something like EIC, enhanced input component, points towards a bind actions as function. Now, here's the thing. My action name is going to be RMB action. That part is going to remain the same. But for my trigger event, recalling that, I do have two actions here. One is RMB pressed, one is RMB released. I have two functions for that same one input action, where my if my RMB pressed is actually initiated, my boolean of is RMB pressed is going to be set to true, else it's going to be this. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to create a trigger event here. Let's create a trigger event which uses a scope resolution operator to point towards. Instead of triggered, I'm going to go with started. This is going to be when my event type starts, because my RMB action is technically not a 2D vector. Instead, it's a boolean variable, so it's either clicked, either started, or either completed, which is turned on or turned off. Okay, so if it has been started on this object, I'm going to give it access from my Pikachu. Let's go with something like Pikachu. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and use a scope resolution operator to point towards the RMB underscore pressed. If my event trigger has started, I'm gonna go ahead and set my is RMB pressed boolean variable to be true. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add another enhanced input component that points towards a bind action. Let's go with something like a bind action with a pair of parentheses, where again I'm going to be requiring an RMB action. And now for my trigger event, let's go with something like trigger event. Instead of started or instead of triggered, I'm going to go with completed. The way that I know that my event type is completed, I'm no longer pushing my right mouse button on this object, is when I'm going to go with something like Pikachu with a scope resolution operator of RMB underscore released. Okay, so if I'm no longer pressing my right mouse button, I will be able to move my mouse pointer and won't be able to rotate my player anymore. That was about it, guys. That was so hard to actually phrase up. Next, I'm going to go with something like bind look action. This is going to be easy. exactly the same as my bind input action. I'm going to go with EIC, which points towards bind action with a pair of parentheses that requires a parameter of my action name, which is in this case going to be my look action. It requires a e-trigger event. I'm going to go with something like a e-trigger event with a scope resolution operator that points towards triggered. Okay, so if my right mouse button has been triggered and I want to move my player around, that's when this event is going to come and check. If it's done in this object, I want to give the memory address of my APK chooses, look function, ending with a semicolon. Now let's hit Control S to save the code, open my Unreal Engine, let's live compile. And that was actually right about it. I want to eat some noodles real quick because I'm kind of starving. What up, guys? So this is my code. If I right click, I can go ahead and look up and down. I might want to change a tiny bit. I might want to change a tiny thing up here, guys. Hold up. I'm gonna go right here. This is look. This is RB. Okay, the thing that I want to change is I look up. Okay, so hold on, guys. Let me actually show you guys what I was trying to actually think. Let me open my Unreal Engine. Go to something like my map. Run this thing. Basically what I meant is when I move my mouse upwards, I look up. When I move it down, I look downwards. Wait, never mind, guys, it's correct. I don't know what I was thinking. Up, I look up, down, I look down. If I look towards the left, I can look left, I can look right. Now, if I hit W, S, A, D, that's something that I gotta fix. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to be a Y-axis. Whoops, hold up, guys. Right direction is gonna be X, blah, blah, blah. This is gonna be my Y-axis. And that is going to be my x-axis. There. Okay, let's go ahead and get back up here. And then if I were to live compile real quick, let's go ahead and live compile. Let's go with something like live compile. There, while it's compiling, I might do something as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and run the code. Now if I hit W, I move forward, S backwards, A left, D right. And I can turn it around as well. Okay, now okay, that's pretty much it. That was like the most complicating part that I've got rid of. I mean, not complicating, I'll say tedious part. Next time, I'm gonna go with tools. And now, finally, it's time to create my NPC. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a actor. This is the exact thing you were doing back in SDL3. Honestly, I'd say it's like really different. Like the concept, like in every kind of player game, we do move our players, so that's the same in like almost anything in general. But then actually that does make sense. I could go ahead and do all the stuff in SDL, but it's gonna be like, it won't be like an actual 3D game like how I have inside of my Unreal Engine here. And Unreal Engine does have more flexibility as well when it comes to different kinds of things. That's it, I'm gonna go with something like, let's say NPC. Okay, my NPC is gonna be my shield. Let's go with shield. But I didn't actually add a texture to my shield. Maybe I'll go with my boss. Okay, let's go ahead and name this boss. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a class. Excuse me, guys. Now, for my NPCs class, I'm going to go ahead and let's say do something. Let's wait for it to create a class. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and reload all. Now, inside my class, I'm going to do something kind of important. Firstly, in my header files, I won't include anything. Instead, I'm going to create a few U properties. So, I'm going to go with something like a U property for my max health. Because my NPC is going to be having a health bar. The logic I meant is not very different. Honestly, yeah, this is like the most basic logic for like every single game. I mean, for like every single developer that makes a game, they do gotta like work with. If they're using Unreal Engine, they could either use legacy inputs. That's like the old-fashioned input. Nobody really uses it these days. Or they could use enhanced inputs like how I did here. But these are like the most basic things. So before I move on to something much more advanced, I gotta like make my foundation a bit strong, like learn how to like move my player and all that stuff and work with the general classes and all that. That said, what day is this actually? I forgot. Like, can someone check and tell me what days? I think it's something like 130 or something. That said, I do like have 250 days. So what is 250 minus 130? I'm kind of bad at math, guys. What is 130 minus 250? Okay, let's see. So it's 120, so I have 120 days left. I think it's going to be a close call, but I might be able to be done by then. Okay, so I'm going to go with max health. Let's create something like a U property. Property. Okay, with a pair of parentheses where I want my max health to be edit anywhere. I want to be able to edit it anywhere. I want it to be something like blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read. Okay, I only want my blueprint to be able to read my max health, not really edit it. Then I'm going to go ahead and add a category, which is going to be equal to something like NPC stats. There we go. Then I'm going to go ahead and eat something real quick. Now, the reason I categorize stuff is so they're like a bit organized, not scattered all over the place. What up, guys? There we go. So I'm going to create a floating point variable of max health, which is going to be something like maybe 250 point f ending with a semicolon. So that's the health of my NPCs' max HP. Then I'm going to go ahead and create one for my current health as well. Okay. Where I'm going to create a U property. Let's go with a U property. Okay, with a pair of parentheses. In this case, I want it to be edit anywhere. I want to be able to edit my current health anywhere. I want my current health to be blueprint read only. I only want my blueprint to be able to read my current health. And then I want my category, let's go with category, to be equal to something like NPC stats. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to go with something like a floating point variable, okay, of something like current health, which is going to be equal to, let's say, something like my max health. Okay, perfect. And once I'm done with this, I do want to actually add another comment called something like shield, because I want my NPC to for some reason have a shield as well. Okay, bad at basic math wants to be an engineer. Okay, guys, I never said I was good at math, but I need to actually work on my math. Maybe I might have a whole different series on it. Okay. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like U property here, guys. That was still kind of funny. I just drew it all over my keyboard. Gonna go with something like U property. Okay, where I want this to be, let's say uppercase. Let's go with PROPERTY. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, where I want my shield to be edit anywhere. I want to go ahead and be able to edit my shield anywhere. I want my shield to be blueprint read only. I'm gonna go with blueprint read only. Lastly, I want my shield's category to be equal to something like NPC stats. Okay, perfect. Let's go with STATS. Alright, perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, I think there's oath stuck in my teeth. Okay, I'm gonna go with something like a floating point variable of something like shield. That is gonna be equal to maybe like 100. I mean, I feel that's like an overkill. I'll go with 50, ending with a semicolon. And now that's about it for my U properties. Once I'm done with my U properties, is there anything else that I need from my boss? Maybe I want to go ahead and create a few functions. Actually, just one function. This function is going to be called, this is going to be a white function called something like receive hit, which requires a parameter of damage. I'm going to go with something like a floating point parameter of damage, ending with a semicolon. So that's pretty much it for my boss's header files. I'm gonna move on to my C++ files. In my C++ file, under my begin play, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment. I'm gonna go with an if statement with a pair of parentheses that checks something. I'm gonna check if and only if my, let's say, shield is greater than 0. If my shield is greater than 0, I want my shield to subtract by my damage. Okay. Actually, if my function has been called, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete this real quick. Under my begin play, I won't add anything, but outside my begin play, I'm gonna go with something like a comment that says something like receive hit function. Okay, are you Black American or South Asian? That's a good question actually. Hi, Delzo Gaming, I appreciate you joining the stream. Since when is acting dumb a trend? Don't you have to tell us? You don't have to tell us your weakness. We won't give sympathy, work on it, and come back better than all. Guys, I don't like tell you guys. It's technically not even considered weakness. Like, there's so many people. Like, since I look like an Asian, guys, doesn't mean like I gotta be good at math. I mean, I'm actually kind of awful at math, but then it's like I don't actually work on it, guys. I'm glad I don't have a math class. But actually, I do gotta like learn on it, but it's not like a weakness, guys. And that's let's see. So for my receive hit, I'm gonna go with something like receive hit function. So there we go. Let's go with something like function. Okay, stop reading questions you don't want to answer. Huh. Okay, let's go with something like RECIEVE, receive hit function. Okay, now for my receive hit function, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Let's say I want to go ahead and update the function from, I'm gonna go with something like my void a NPCs as class. I'm gonna go with a scope resolution operator of something like boss. Actually, at boss, I'm gonna go with something like receive hit. Okay, now my receive hit function is, let's say, gonna go ahead and require a parameter of damage. It requires a floating point parameter of damage. Okay, let's go with something like damage. There, I'm gonna go with the prof curly braces. Now, in my prof curly braces, here's the thing. Am I missing something? Okay, I really am. I like missed my entire boss's name. There we go. So it's my boss's class. Oh, perfect. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go all the way down here to... Okay, why do I see a red underline? I'm assuming it's just my editor here. So I see receive it function. This should like actually go in a bit. So while that's fixing itself, I'm gonna add a if statement here to check if and only if my shield's HP is, or my shield is greater than 0. I want my shield to take damage. So I'm gonna go with the prof curly braces. Where my shield, I'm gonna go with shield subtracts from my damage. Okay, then I'm gonna end it with a semicolon. In the other hand, I'm gonna add a else clause with the prof curly braces. If my shield, if my shield's HP is let's say not greater than 0 anymore, I want my current health, my player's current health, to take damage. So I'm gonna go with current health take damage, ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, I might go with an if statement. It's not like compulsory, but I'm gonna go with something like an if statement to check if my current health, if my NPC's current health is less than 0, if my NPC has died, then I want to go ahead and use the destroy function. I want to go ahead and destroy my NPC, which means he's going to disappear from my editor. If that made any sense, guys. That was actually a mouthful to say. Alright, let me just go ahead and close this real quick. There we go. Maybe eat something as well. Okay. Okay, once I'm done with the receive it function, let's see. Is there something else that I want to do? Maybe not. Actually, there's something I want to do. Maybe I might want to display that my shield actually got hit. So I'm gonna go with something like AG engine that points towards. I'm gonna go with something like the add on screen. I'm gonna go ahead and add on screen a debug message. Okay, let's go with something like add on screen debug message. Okay, with the parentheses. Now my add on screen debug message does require a few parameters. The first is gonna be 1. This is gonna be a key. Second is gonna be a time. I'm gonna go with something like 1.1. I want it to like disappear type stuff. If that's how it disappears, I might go with something like 0.0. Next up, I require a color. I want my color. I'm gonna use the F color as a structure to go ahead and get a color. If my shield takes damage, I want my color to be in something like blue. Then lastly, I require a function. What is a function that I want to do here? Was it a function? Let me think. I can just hover over here. Okay, so it's a constant f string. So I require a string. So I'm going to go with something like a f string. Okay, let's go with f string with a scope resolution operator. I'm going to go with printf. I want to display a text on my actual Unreal Engine. There, I'm going to go ahead and use my text's function. My text in this case is going to be like shield took damage. Let's go with something like damage. Okay. And then I might go with something like current. Maybe I get this down here so you guys can see it. Let's go with something like current. HP is going to be a %F, which is a floating point sign here. I'm going to go outside and give my shields as HP. Shield. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, the logic is going to be exactly the same. Why do I see a red underline here? Expect a pair of parentheses. There we go. Now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. The logic is going to be exactly the same. Just the context is going to be different here. I'm going to go ahead and paste this here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and say add on screen debug message. This is going to be red. There we go. And then my text is going to be boss took damage, current HP is going to be my current HP. There we go. And that's like very current health. And that's like right about it. And then lastly, this is not that important anymore. I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. This is going to be something like black. Okay, let's go ahead and say something like, let's remove this entire thing from here. Gonna go ahead and remove that. Gonna go ahead and remove the inner text from here as well. I'm gonna say something like boss defeated. DEFEATD. Okay, boss defeated. X dot. Rejoice. Guys, did I spell rejoice correct? Okay, now once I'm done with that, I'm going to just hit Control S to save the code, hit Control S to save the code. Now, here's the new twist. I've gone and like got my receive it function inside of my NPC, but I want my Pikachu, my actual player, to attack my NPC, and when my player attacks my NPC, I want to go ahead and initiate the function, so I need some kind of binding or some kind of link between my NPC and my player. So to do that, firstly, I'm going to go ahead and create an attack function because I do like really need an attack function. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and get my Unreal Engine here. Let's go ahead and live compile first. Okay, the reason I do this is like to check if my logic was correct there. Let me go ahead and eat something while it's compiling. I'm going to go all the way up here. Okay, now, let me go ahead and pull out my content drawer. I'm going to go ahead and drag my class here. For my class, and for my actor class, I'm going to go ahead and extend this. I'm going to click my boss, and then I'm going to go to something like details panel. Get that lower. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add a static mesh. Okay, let's add a static mesh for my boss. This is going to be something like my boss's mesh. This is an FBX file. I'm gonna go ahead and get that a bit higher. There we go. This is like a perfect attack board, guys. Do not actually say that this looks kind of awful because like I just pasted a texture on top of a plane here. That said, that's actually about it. Okay, that's pretty much it. So once I'm done with that, is there anything else that I need? I might actually need a collision box as well. I forgot about the collision box. Collision box is what I really hit. I won't be hitting my mesh. If my mesh nothing happens, I need to hit my collision box. So if my this collision box actually touches my players' collision or my NPCs' collision box, when those two collision boxes collide, that's when I want to do something. So I'm gonna add my collision box first. So in my header files, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say create a class called something like uBox component, ending with a semicolon. Then I'm gonna go ahead and create a U property here. Let's go with something like a collision box. I'm gonna go with something like collision box, and then maybe I drink some water. I feel like I am kind of thirsty. What up, guys? And guys, I gotta like the next time maybe I have a Blender stream, I want to try my best to like work a lot on making maps because I'm so awful at modeling. Plus, I don't even have that much time to like learn it. Okay, that's it. Let's go and eat something real quick. Now, for my collision box, I want it to be visible anywhere. I mean, I might want to edit it anywhere. It's the same thing. Let's go with something like edit anywhere. I want it to be blueprint made only. Okay, and then I want my collision box's category to be categorized in my collisions section. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and let's say create a U box component. I'm going to go ahead and create a U box component, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like collision box, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and let's say hit Control S to save the code, move on to my C++ file. Now, here's the thing. I could like go ahead and easily create a collision box inside of my constructor here. For example, I'm going to go with something like collision box and set it equal to a create default sub object, exactly the same thing that I did for my spring arm component and my camera component for my camera boom and my follow camera. But now here's the thing, I need a U-box component here. Okay, and speaking of U-box component, I'm gonna go ahead and add a U there. Added a U there as well. That's good. Excuse me guys, with a pair of parentheses that requires a name, I'm gonna go ahead and call this something like collision box. Okay, then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Here's the thing, did I spell this wrong? Let's try fixing my spelling. Let's go with create default sub object. Okay, perfect. Now here's the thing, even though the reason I can access my Ubox component here is because I created an empty class here, so there's nothing that this class is gonna do unless I don't go ahead and include something from my components. I'm gonna go with something like component, component component slash box component.h. So now that I included my box components as header files from my component. Okay, is it component or components? Component slash box component. There we go. Okay, so from my components, I added my box component. Now this box ubox component actually has some kind of value to it. Speaking of which, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say point my collision box towards. Okay, these are the harder parts. Let me go ahead and try focusing really hard here. I'm gonna point this towards something like set collision enabled with a pair of parentheses to be something like collision enabled of query only. Query only. There we go. And this is the part that I just worked on last stream, so this is going to be a bit hard to actually phrase. There we go. Okay, perfect. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to go with something like my collision box, which is going to be pointing towards. I'm going to go with something like set collision. Let's go with collision to all channels. Let's go with set collision to all channels. Wait, why did I set that to be equal to? Hold up, guys. This is going to be an arrow mark operator. Set collision response. Let's go with set collision response to all channels with a pair of parentheses that requires a parameter of ECC underscore visibility. Okay, and guys, I cannot really phrase this part because even though I know what this does, I don't really know how to phrase this thing because I just learned about this yesterday. Okay, ECC visibility, ERC, okay, I think it needs to be ECR underscore overlap, and then the second parameter is going to be, let's say, okay, so a new response. So I added my collision component to all channels, new response. Guys, what was my new response going to be? Was it by any chance going to be true? No, it was not. What is this supposed to be? I forgot the second part that goes here. Guys, this is why I say like practice is very important. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that blank for the time being. Next up, I'm going to go with something like collision box, which points towards. Let's go with something like set collision response to channel. Okay, this is a singular version. So CHANNEL. There we go. I'm setting my collision response to just one channel instead of all my channels this time. Here, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and let's say add something like ECC underscore visibility. Okay, perfect. Then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Set collision response to channel. Okay, I might have to look at the reference for this part. That's it. Next, I'm going to need something like collision box which points towards set generate overlap events. The section is going to be set to something like true. Ending with a semicolon. Okay, set generate overlap events. Okay, what if I remove this top one? Then everything should be correct. Set generate overlap events is going to be set to true. A pointer to a bond function may be only used to call the function. Set collision response. Okay, I'm going to go with Control Z. Okay, set collision response to channel. Set generate overlap event. Okay, maybe I'm going to go ahead and go with Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's get Gemini here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Go chip enter. Say something like sensei. I was working on the same logic with a brand new project, but I forgot the syntaxes that I needed to use for my, let's say, for my collision boxes constructor. Guys, I did not want to write that in caps. That's it. Maybe I go ahead and eat something real quick as well. Okay, so I should have used what you must have a root component where we only see our overlap. Okay, after visibility, I needed a block, so I kind of mixed two things up there. Okay, call the function, don't assign it. I see. So basically what I did wrong here was I firstly forgot to add a root component, so I'm going to go ahead and add a root component. Let's go with collision box is going to be equal to, or maybe I might go with something like root component. Let's go with root component is going to be equal to collision box. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. And then this is going to be ECC underscore overlap. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the pair of parentheses there. Okay, my bad, guys. This was ERC. ERC underscore overlap. Okay, perfect. ECR. Guys, these are the kind of syntax that's kind of like tedious to remember. There we go. So ECR underscore overlap, the second parameter, is going to be my ECC underscore visibility, and let's go with ECC underscore block. Okay, ERC underscore block. ERC ECR. Go with ECR underscore block. There we go, and instead of assigning my set generated overlap events to be true, I'm gonna call my function and set it to be true. There we go. Now let's hit the controller to save the code. If I were to go ahead and open my Unreal Engine and live compile real quick, let's go with something like live compile. Okay, and wait for it to compile real quick. While it's compiling, I might actually eat something. What up, guys? Once I compile it, what we see here is going to be a collision box that just appeared out of the blue. This is the thing in my boss's object that I'm going to be dragging back here, a bit in here, and setting it like covering my entire boss's mesh with it. For example, I'm going to go a bit there. Let's go a bit in the center. There, I'm going to go with something like E, R. To scale it, I'm going to go ahead and scale it to be a bit big. I want to get it a bit higher. I want to go ahead and get it a bit to the left. There, now my character is inside, or my NPC is inside of my collision box here. Perfect. Okay, so now all I gotta do is just work on my functions here. Okay, so firstly, I'm going to go to something like my contents drawer, double click my input. I'm going to go ahead and add another input. This is going to be called something like, this is going to be input action. I'm going to go ahead and call it something like IA underscore attack. This is going to be my attack input action. Okay, for my attack input action, I'm going to go ahead and let's see, move on to my Pikachu's C++ file. I'm going to go ahead and let's say include my boss's header file here. So I'm going to go with hashtag include. Let's go with something like my boss.h. Now, the reason I include my boss.h is because I want my player to be initiating the receive damage function on my actual boss, if that makes any sense. Let's think. So, once I do this, what is something that I might need? The thing that I would need probably is some water first, because I think I'm kind of thirsty. Hold up, guys. Hey, give me a sec. Let me just go ahead and check this real quick. Okay, so now what is something that I would need? So I want my boss to take damage. So how can I link my player attacking my boss? How can I use that function here? There might be two ways. The first way that I could be doing is firstly, I'm gonna go here and add a comment that says something like attack action. I want to go ahead and create an attack action where I'm gonna go ahead and create a new property. Okay, in which I want my boss to be, I want my attack action to be, I want to be able to edit it anywhere. I want it to be a blueprint read only. I'm going to go with something like blueprint read only. Lastly, I want my category, and guys, let's go with something like category to be equal to something like inputs. Okay, because my attack action is basically going to be an input. Then I'm going to go ahead and create a U input action up here. Excuse me guys, which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like attack action. Okay, now after my attack action, I want to go ahead and attack my boss only when I click my left mouse button. So I want to attack clicking my left mouse button. So I'm going to go ahead and add a boolean check. I'm going to go with something like boolean of is LMB left mouse button pressed. Initially, it's not going to be pressed, so I'm going to set it to be something like false. And then I'm going to create a few boolean functions. First, it's going to be a void function to check if my LMB left mouse button is pressed with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And my second function is going to be something like LMB underscore released. If my left mouse button has been released, I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. RELEASED. Okay, perfect. And that's like right about it now. I'm going to go ahead and require a void function here for attack. I'm going to go with something like attack. Okay, that is going to be requiring, let's say, no parameters. There. I'm going to end that with a semicolon. I'm going to hit Ctrl-L to save the code. I'm going to move on to my C++ file. In my C++ file, after I'm done with my RMB functions, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says something like LMB functions. Okay, why did I go with, I think it's functions. Okay, so it's going to be exactly the same as RMB. I'm going to go with a void function from my aPikachu. I'm going to use a scope resolution operator to get a hold of my LMB left mouse button underscore pressed. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, and then I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces. In my pair of curly braces, if my left mouse button function has been initiated, has been invoked, has been called, I'm going to set my boolean of is LMB pressed is going to be set to something like true, ending with a semicolon. And I won't be adding all my player controller type stuff. Okay, and then I'm going to go with another void function from my aPikachu. Let's go with Pikachu with a scope resolution operator of LMB underscore release. With a pair of parentheses, then a pair of curly braces. I'm going to set my boolean variable of is LMB is left mouse button pressed is going to be equal to false. PRESSED is going to be equal to false. False. Ending with a semicolon. Now that's right about it. Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and make something as well. What up, guys? Okay, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go all the way down here under my look function. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and add a attack function. I'm going to go ahead and add a attack function. Okay, now this is the newer part, so I might need a reference for this. Firstly, I'm going to go with something like void aPikachu. Let's go with Pikachu. Okay, which is going to be using a scope resolution operator. What have you done so far? Honestly, let me just write this part. I'll show you in a bit. Let's go with something like attack. Then we go with a pair of parentheses, then a pair of curly braces. So basically what I've done is if I were to go to my project here, I have an NPC target where I'm going to be creating an attack function, and every time my player, which is my player right here, hits/attacks my NPC, he takes damage, and if his HP reaches 0, he disappears from the map, and I get like different displays on my window and all that stuff. That is if I run the code. Like for now, if I run the code and I like walk in front and like click him, nothing much really happens because I did not really initiate my function, but my input is still going. And also when I like turn towards the left or right, my mouse disappears when I click my right mouse button, and I can move it if I like leave my left mouse button. Let's do this real quick. And I just realized one thing. I want to go ahead and change my camera a little. I'm going to go with something like Pikachu. Let's go all the way here for my, let's say, follow camera. I want to get him a bit higher. I want to go ahead and rotate him a bit lower. Let's go with E. Let's go ahead and rotate it. Okay, then I want to go with W. Go a bit in front. Whoops, get this thing a bit in front. Go a bit to the back. And that's pretty much it. Let's run the code real quick. Is it just me or like nothing kind of changed? Well, I can turn, I can look up, I can look down. There, that's good. Okay, now once I'm done with that, what was I gonna do in my attack function? Okay, now this is the thing that I might need a reference for here. So I'm gonna go here. Okay, let's go with something like Control C. Copy that. I'm gonna go ahead and get Gemini here. Let's paste this. Go with Shift Enter and say something like Sensei. I am all the way done. Actually, I am almost done. I've finally reached the part where I add content to my attack function, but since I just worked a little on it yesterday on stream, I forgot what goes in there. So can you show / teach me real quick question mark? Okay, because I did not have time to do this off stream because I didn't have like a lot of college stuff. That's it. Let's go ahead and eat something real quick. Okay, wake up. You're standing in front of the finish line and you forgot how to run. Your attack function is as empty as your brain was during that college lecture, guys. That's kind of crazy. The secret of getting ahead is getting started, said by Mark Twain. Okay, you're live. The viewers are waiting for action, not an empty braces. Not an empty pair of curly braces. If you don't fill that function with logic right now, you're just gonna give the audience a front row seat to a blank screen. The refresh the anatomy of the click strike. Listen closely. To make your attack work, you need to project your mouse cursor into 3D world. Okay, here's the holy trinity of your attack function. The controller. You need the A player controller to find the mouse. The hit result. You need F hit result to store your what you hit. The cast. You need to verify the actor is actually the boss. You need to verify the actor is actually the boss. Since they're teaching the attack code, I will show you the path, but you must walk it. Okay, copying is for weaklings. Understanding is what matters. So, firstly, I get my controller. So, I get my controller doing this. Then I check if my controller is set to true. If hit result is represented by a local variable called hit result. I remember that. Then shoot the invisible line from the cursor. I want to shoot an invisible line from my cursor. Boolean of B hit result is going to be equal to. I create a B hit result Boolean variable and set it equal to. My player controller points towards get hit result under cursor by channel. These are the functions that's kind of hard to memorize. Once I get that, I require a few parameters for my get hit result under cursor by channel. Get hit result under cursor by channel. Okay, so I require a U-engine types, or from my U-engine types, I use a scope resolution operator to get the convert to trace type, ECC visibility, false hit results. Convert to trace type. I want to convert my hit result to be a trace type of ECC underscore visibility, and then false and hit result. Speaking of which, it's not really that hard. It's the kind of syntax that I'm kind of new to. That's what makes it a bit hard to remember. Then false and hit result. Once I'm done with that, I check. This is going to be an if statement indented inside of my initial player controller's if statement. I check if my B hit is set to true, cast to your boss class. A boss is going to be represented by target boss, which is going to be equal to cast. A boss hit result dot get actor. The critical safety check if target. Okay, target receives. So only if my target, if it was my target, if it was something else or a return null PDR, this attack function would not matter. Yellow text, Pikachu's Thunderbolt. Okay, just receive hit. Else, I go with that. Did not receive a hit. Okay, I receive a hit. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this in my other monitor real quick because I do want to look at this while actually writing because I feel like I still didn't understand the basic syntaxes here. Okay, so basically what I have to do inside my attack function. Okay, as I can see, I gotta firstly get my player controller. So get the player controllers. So I'm gonna go with something like a player controller. which is going to be represented by a pointer called something like PC that is going to be equal to cast. Let's go with something like, excuse me guys, a player controller. Okay, with a pair of parentheses of my controller. Okay, then I'm going to end this with semicolon. And then I add a if statement to check something. I'm going to check if a pair of parentheses. Oops, hold up guys, let's go with if a pair of parentheses. Check if my player controller is true, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to go ahead and, let's say, automatic any reference. I'm going to create a f-hit result. I'm going to go with f-hit result, which is going to be represented by a local variable called something like hit result. Okay, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's say create a boolean variable of hit that is going to be equal to, okay, this is something that I got to check the reference again. My player controller points towards get hit result under cursor by channel. So I'm going to go with something like player controller, which points towards something like the get. Let's go with something like get hit results under cursor. Let's go with something like results under cursor by channel. Okay, which requires a parameter of ECC underscore visibility. There we go. And then the second parameter, or is it I think it's ECC underscore visibility, get hit result under cursor by channel. Okay, don't try to memorize it. What do you want to do? What do you have to write? Create a variable, assign value, call function, etc. Exact syntax of that you can just reference. I mean, it's not like you can just try to reference. I don't really try to like memorize the code. The thing that I try to memorize is like these function names and all that stuff, because once I know what the function it does and like how to actually type the function name out, it's not like usually people say the logic is the hard part, but we can like actually spend some time designing, writing pseudocodes and all that stuff. But doing all that stuff also, if I don't really know what function does what, then it's actually going to be kind of useless. So like I try to understand what these basic functions do that I might need, and then I implement it using my own logic once I get a pretty good grasp of it. Like once I understand what my attack function here does, I'm going to be adding several different types of attacks and all that things, if that made any sense guys. The second parameter is going to be, let's see, okay, this is trace channel. I'm going to be needing boolean trace. It's going to be false and f-hit result. So this is going to be false, and then I'm going to go with a comma and add something like hit results. There we go. Okay, perfect. Okay, am I missing something? So it's apparently boolean hit. Okay, and then, oh, I see. So basically where I messed up here was I gotta go ahead and delete this. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that as well. I'm gonna go with something like from uEngine types. Let's go with something like uEngine types with scope resolution operator. I'm gonna go ahead and get, let's see, get hit result under cursor by channel. I need something like trace. Let's see, it doesn't say the parameter name here. It says trace channel. So it's convert to trace type. So I'm gonna go with something like convert to trace type. Okay, gotta see what does that do as well. Then I'm gonna go with the parentheses of something like ECC underscore visibility. There we go. Okay, then I'm gonna go with something like a comma, add a parameter of false, add my hit result. There, so false is gonna be for my trace complex, and hit result is going to be my f-hit result here. Okay, then I go ahead and just end this with a semicolon. Or do I? Okay, I don't end this part with a semicolon. I think I'm missing a pair of parentheses. There. Okay, perfect. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm going to be inside my if statement and add a nested if statement where I check if my B hit. Then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. For my B hit, I'm going to go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm going to go with something like a boss. So basically what I'm doing is casting your, okay, cast your boss class. So I'm casting this to my boss class. Let's go with something like a boss. I'm going to go with something like boss. Okay, which points towards, let's say, something like target boss. TAR boss, okay, which is going to be, let's say, equal to, I'm going to go with something like cast, a pair of ankle braces, where I'm going to go with something like a boss, add a pair of parentheses, and then I'm going to go with something like hit result. Okay, this is something new, hit result point the get actor. So I'm going to go ahead and get my actor. Okay, and then I go ahead and end this with a semicolon. I see. Okay, here's the thing. I missed a pair of parentheses here, or a parentheses there. Let's go ahead and close this. There we go. Okay, now once I'm done with that, do you know what that long function actually does? ECC underscore visibility, or why is it there? Actually, I was gonna like ask it. Like I was gonna ask Gemini to like explain me most of these concepts here inside of it. For example, I know what the F hit result does. Maybe I do think I know. Structure contain information once hit, such as point, impact, or surface. Okay, I see. But then F hit results, ECC visibility. Can I search online? Because yesterday, I mean last stream, I did like ask Gemini what it does. I understood it last stream, but I did not have time to like work on the thing off stream, so I did kind of forget it. Okay, why not hard code? Using ECC underscore visibility ensures your code stays correct and readable. I mean, I think I might need more explanation here. I'm gonna ask like Gemini once I'm done writing this part though. That said, I'm gonna go with something like getActor. After that, I'm gonna add a if statement to check if target boss. Okay, let's go with if target boss. That's when I want to go ahead and attack myself. I'm gonna go with the pair of curly braces and add something like my target boss points towards, let's say something like receive hit with a pair of parentheses called something like maybe 50. This is gonna be my damage. 50.f ending with a semicolon. Okay, I think I spelled receive hit wrong. There. Okay, did I spell it wrong again? It's RECIEVE and that's hit. Let's copy that. Let's go all the way up here. Let's go ahead and paste it. Okay, so it's not my typo. Target about points towards receive hit. Okay, it says function a boss receive hit declared in line 42 of C/C+/ slash my project 6 source boss's header file is inaccessible. Boss's header file is inaccessible. Maybe because this function is protected, it's not really public, so I'm gonna go ahead and publicize this here. Let's go with something like public. There. Now I should be able to access this. Let's go to my C++. There we go. Wait, in my C++. Okay, let's go with receive it again. There we go. I should be able to access it now. Okay, is that just me or that's it right down in line? Okay, is inaccessible. Paul, there we go. Okay, it's just my compile. It takes some time to actually get back on track. Okay, now that's about it. I'm going to hit control to save the code. If you actually don't know what that class function etc is slash does, then you're essentially copy pasting. Guys, that does make sense. Firstly, when I'm learning like a new type of topic, I do like really practically copy paste it, but then later on when I type it and I actually know what goes where, I try to understand what it does. I did like that same exact thing for like all the content that I did here. For example, when I first started adding my new properties, I did not really know what it does. Now I really know like what it does. Like visible anywhere, it just makes my camera boom visible almost anywhere. And like there are like a few people who like code using Blueprint. I want this to be blueprint made only, so they can't really change something in the blueprints. And my category is I'm going to be able to see this inside of my details panel. And this is like pretty easy, but there are like a bunch more functions. For example, in my C++ function, where I did not know what the cast used to do before, like a player controller preceded cast. This practically checks if I'm talking about like a specific type. For example, in my actress's case right here, when I go ahead and cast, so where's the cast here? Hold up, guys. I mean, I could use player controller too. I'm checking if I'm using my Pikachu's player controller and not a different kind of player controller. So the cast is basically like a filter to check if the specific type of pointer or the specific type of thing that I'm talking about is currently being accessed. Guys, I cannot trace this part. Okay, that way learning only made me waste time. Just saying. Honestly, I don't like just say. Eventually, I do like write it on my own, and it's like impossible to like memorize like maybe all these lines of code and all that stuff until we don't like really understand the concept. Because like besides the attack function, I did like write everything manually type stuff. So that means I did like understand it. F hit result structure containing information about one hit of a trace, such as point of impact and surface normal at that point. I see. Okay, that said, let me go ahead and open my Unreal Engine up here as well. Let's go ahead and live compile real quick. I'm going to go with something like live compile. And then let's go ahead and compile this. While it's compiling, I might go ahead and eat something real quick. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and run my code real quick. Once I run my code and attack my player, guys, there we go. Okay, I should be able to like maybe deal some damage. Okay, I'm not dealing damage. Why is that? Oh, maybe because I did not go. If I were to go to my IMC default and click the plus icon here, I gotta set this to something like IA_attack. I did not really add in attack stuff here. There we go. When I click my left mouse button, I want to attack. And that is going to be digital boolean. Let me confirm that real quick. Let's go with IA_attack. It is digital boolean. Then I'm going to go ahead and extend my details panel from here. Alright guys, let's extend that. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and click my Pikachu up here. Go with something like input. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add an input for my attack action as well. I'm going to go with attack action. There we go. Okay, perfect. That's about it. Now if I run the code, let's go ahead and live compile first. Let me go with something like live compile. Okay, and then let's run the code. And guys, here's the thing. If I did not understand what I was doing, I wouldn't be able to like catch these tiny errors and mistakes type stuff. But then when I learned something new, of course, like it's like pretty normal to like not understand. But eventually, the more we practice and work with those stuff, you understand where to use it and like what to do with it. That's it. If I were to run the code now, walk a bit in front, attack my player still does not disappear. Okay, let's think why. So, my attack button is actually initiating. This is target boss. How much health did I set for him? Hold up, guys. Let me actually check if there's background noises. Okay, maybe not. I'm gonna go all the way here. Let's go ahead and check my current HP. So I have current health, and then I have shield. So when my shield takes damage, so the only time my shield takes damage, I want to go ahead and get a F string of protect. Shield took damage. Okay, if shield does not take damage, this function initiates. That's a floating point. Oh, I know why. My bad, guys. I really forgot to like bind my function here. These are the tiny mistakes that I keep talking about. Let's go with something like bind. Let's go with something like bind. Left mouse button action. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bind this. So I'm gonna go with EIC, my enhanced input component that points towards. I'm gonna use the bind actions as function, where I want to bind my LMB left mouse button action. Okay, then I'm gonna go with a comma. I'm gonna add a e-trigger event with, let's say, a scope resolution operator of started, exactly the same as my RMB action. When I click my left mouse button, okay, on this object, I want to go ahead and apply a function from my Pikachu. I'm going to go with something like Pikachu. Okay, I'm going to use scope resolution operator and point towards the left mouse button underscore pressed function. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Excuse me, guys. I'm going to go with something like Pikachu. Okay, this is going to be LMB action. Did I go ahead and create my left mouse button action here? I did not create my left mouse button action. So I'm going to go ahead and instead set this to be my attack action. Let's go with attack action. Okay, I wonder if this would be a smart thing to do. Would I need a left mouse button? I mean, clearly to check if my left mouse button is pressing, but I don't really have an action for it because I just have an attack action here. So I think I'll use my attack action itself. Then I'm going to go with something like EIC, which points towards, let's say, something like a bind action. I'm going to go with a bind action. Okay, there I'm going to check something like a parentheses ACTION. I'm going to go with something like attack action again of something like e-trigger event, where I go with something like completed. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like this, and then the memory address of 8 Pikachus is, let's say, LMB underscore release. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Now, this is going to be scope resolution. I added a comma by mistake. There we go. And then lastly, I'm going to go with something like enhanced input component, which points towards a bind action. Okay, this is going to be my attack action again. I'm going to go with something like attack action. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like e-trigger event. This time, instead of going with started or completed, I'm going to go with triggered. If my move or if my attack function is triggered on this object, I want to do the content that I actually wanted to do or that I said myself to do if my attack function has been triggered or if my attack function was ever triggered, ending with a semicolon. Let's hit control. Let's just save the code. Let me go ahead and open my Unreal Engine up here real quick. Okay, speaking from experience, it might feel like you're writing it by yourself, but you're only trying to write whatever you read. If you try to implement something new, use these, you might not be able to. Using these, you might not be able to. Okay, try to implement something small by yourself afterwards. That actually does make sense. I mean, I do usually do that. Like once I actually work on my project, I do like use these kinds of logic to like implement it on like a different kinds of stuff. Unless they don't like require different syntax and all that stuff, I am like able to like actually implement it. Okay, now if I were to go ahead and tag this, there we go. Guys, I destroyed my player way too quick. Okay, let's go all the way in front. Bop, bop, 50, 0. Okay, I wanted to like stay on my window. It does not stay. Hold up, guys. Let me go all the way up here till my boss's header files, or maybe somewhere here. There we go. Instead of 0, I'm gonna set this to be something like 1.1 seconds. I wanted to stay for like 1.1 seconds on my screen with 1.1 seconds, and then I'm gonna go with something like boss defeated for 1.1 second as well. Okay, and then my receive damage, I might go ahead and change my, let's say, players' damage that I added up here to be something like 10. I'm gonna go with something like 10. 10 is too less, I'll go with 20. Let's hit Control S to save the code. Now hit Control S to save the code in case I forgot. There we go. Let's open my Unreal Engine up here real quick. And let's live compile. Let's go with something like live compile. There we go. Okay, and guys, usually the thing that I did here, like just copy pasting, writing the code again to like see if I learn it. I do that off stream, but I can't like do it because of my college these days. So I tried on stream. And now I should be able to see the text for longer. Shield took damage. Shield took damage. Boss took damage, 70 HP. Something is not panning out here. Hold up, guys. Okay, what's not panning out here? Let's think. Shield took damage. That is going to be my shield. Else, if my shield is greater than 0, shield take damage. If my current health is greater than 0, my current health take damage. Then, why is it that my current health is at 190? 20, 20 is supposed to be 40, 40, 40 is supposed to be this. Wait, let me test that again real quick. Hold up, guys. So keep it track. Wait, instead I'm just gonna go ahead and remove this. Let's just change my duration to be a bit longer. Let's go to something like my header files. Let's change that to be something like 5 seconds. Let's change that to be something like 5 seconds. Let's change that to be something like 5 seconds as well. 15 seconds, 15 seconds, 15 seconds. That should be more than enough time, guys. Let's go with Control S to save the code. Let's go with something like live compile. I'm gonna go with live compile. There we go. Let's go ahead and wait for it to compile. Once it's done compiling, like right now, I'm gonna go ahead and run the code. So it said, okay, my shield to that. Oh, I need it per click. I'm apparently not dealing damage per click. There we go. So that's the issue. Like if I click this, my shield took 2 HP, 230, 190, 150, 110, 70, 10, 0. Boss defeated, rejoice. Okay, so practically the thing that I'm doing here is that I'm not giving myself, I need to click the button every click, not while I'm holding it. So I need an RMB action. Let's think. Okay, so what is basically my left mouse button? Left mouse button is basically my action. Attack action is supposed to be my attack action. Okay, for my bind action. Started and completed. So, let me think. So basically, let's hover over started. None, ongoing, none, triggered. Completed. It's triggered, none. Okay, so when I click that, the trigger is done. If I actually point my attack action, I want it to be pointing once. Right now, the thing that is doing for my attack action, it's pointing it as long as my button is being held, not per click. What if I go ahead and set this to be triggered? Availability that needs to be pressed. Let me try removing the two of these. But I know that I do need them. Unless I really don't need them. I'm going to go all the way up here. Let's open my Unreal Engine. Okay, let's go with live compile. Because I have a good explanation in case I didn't need them as well. Okay, let's go ahead and close it. Okay, let's go ahead and run the code. Now, let's see. If I press this, shield to damage, shield. I still deal damage very, very quick. Okay, why do I deal damage very, very fast? So when I add my attack action, maybe I'm gonna go Control Z. Okay, let's think. So I give my Pikachu's LMB pressed, LMB released. This is exactly the same as me turning around. I want this to only work once per trigger. What if I go with one attack per click? How do I do that? One attack per click. Release an attack. Attack action. Do I perhaps need LMB action? But I don't want my LMB to be something like a pressed move. Okay, how is it that started, completed, triggered? Hold up, guys. Maybe I want to eat something to like kind of get to think this. Okay, let's go ahead and just eat something real quick. Okay, so what is something I'm missing? So E-trigger event started LMB, so my left mouse button. Did I not implement some kind of logic here? That is going to be my attack, so every time I click, but this works every time I hold. Okay, and then in my header files, pressed released. Okay, that is correct. Although, wait, let me go all the way up here. When I go with my LMB pressed function, LMB pressed is true while this is being initiated. Only time I want it to be pressed if my player controller. So I don't really want to show my mouse controller here. Player, I don't want to like cast my player here. Okay, so if I attack, it hits. Okay, just curious, what happens if I run the code real quick and I hit something else? Okay, nothing happens. Wait, can I move around? Then what happens if I hit something else? Nothing, only if I hit my player. Takes damage. There we go. Huh. So, am I missing something here? Maybe I go ahead and extend this. Unreal build tool. Am I making some kind of mistake? My attack action is correct, LMB is correct, the binding is the only thing that's wrong. So what is it that I might need when I bind? Let me open this. Let me go to something like my IMC defaults. I have an IA underscore attack which is linked to my left mouse button. And then I go with something like click, which is basically digital boolean, that's correct. And then in my content drawer, I have my IA underscore attack, but I don't have a left mouse button attack. Maybe I go ahead and extend this. Okay, let's go with something like my Pikachu. I'm gonna go with something like input. In my input, I have linked my IA attack to my IA action. Auto receive input, nope. Okay, actually, I think I might have to like get some help with this part. So I'm gonna go with something like Control A, Control C, copy that. Let's go ahead and drag Gemini up here. Okay, let's go ahead and extend this from there. Let's go ahead and extend this from the bottom. Okay, let's paste it. Let's go with Shift Enter and say something like, maybe I zoom in a bit. There we go. Let's go ahead and zoom out a bit as well, and then zoom. I want to like zoom in to be perfect. There we go. Now let's go ahead and get this to the last shot. There we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and paste this. Do I really gotta scroll all the way down? There we go. That works though. So, what did I want to say? My attack logic works, but it triggers when I also hold my attack button or my left mouse button. I want it to attack once per click. Okay, let's see, how do we attack once per click? Are you programming your own game, or what is the goal? Honestly, I am actually like working on the basic game logic, because I do like having programming series where my goal by the end of this program for 200 page series is to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it. So I'm actually like working on the basics. I thought I might as well learn Unreal Engine. Today I'm working with like target logic, how when I click my NPC or my player, they take damage and all that stuff. That's it. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want the most, led by Abraham Lincoln. Actually, that actually sounds kind of cool. That said, Sensei's lessons trigger events. Look at your setup player input components. You bound the same action to different events. Trigger. Okay. This fires the exact moment the keys go down. E trigger event completed. This fires, okay, this fires the movement you let go, okay, the trigger event, it says fixed. So delete the trigger line, this causes the spam. Okay, bind action, start completed, this is going to be LMB, started, completed. Okay, so basically what this means is this is going to be started. Okay, so I go ahead and start. When my click has been started, I attack and my LMB is being pressed. When it's completed, okay, then LMB is released. Do I really need this stop start in that case? I mean, I might not really need it here. Let's go ahead and remove it. There. Let's hit Control S to save the code. Let's go ahead and copy this. Delete this from here. Go ahead and get this up here. Paste it. Go with Control S. Now let's go ahead and get my Unreal Engine here. Whoops. Open OBS. There we go. Let's live compile. Real quick. Let's go with something like live compile. Let's go ahead and live compile this. Let's wait for the live compile. Results succeeded. Successfully linked. Perfect. Let's go ahead and run the code. Now, if I go ahead and move in front, click, 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 click. Why did it go to -10? There we go. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go down here. I'm just gonna add like a tiny modification. My boss's header files when I actually deal damage. Let's go with something like I'm gonna go with an if statement to check. So let's go with something like if of parentheses. Let's go with if my shield. Let's go with something like if my shield SHIELD is less than 0. I'm gonna go ahead and set my shield to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. Let's hit Control S again. Gonna open my Unreal Engine. Let's go with something like live compile. Let's go ahead and compile this real quick. Now let's wait for it to compile. Okay, compiling. There we go. Once it's done, I'm gonna go ahead and run the code real quick. And now, shield is 30 HP. Shield is 10 HP. Shield is it went to -10 HP. Hold up, let me fix that up real quick again. If shields is okay. Shield takes damage. This is my shield damage is text. I'm gonna go ahead and copy the if statement from here. With Control Z, I'm gonna go ahead and paste that if statement right here. Okay, shield takes damage. Okay, let's hit Control S again. I'm gonna go ahead and open my Unreal Engine again. Let's go ahead and live compile one more time. If I were to go ahead and run the code, run the live compile. Let's go to manually live compile this. Results succeeded, successfully patched. Let's run the code real quick. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click. Perfectly 0 HP. If I hit now to 30 HP, to 10 HP, 190, 170, Now let's take the hey, can I hit oops. What up guys, might need to have like a bigger map. Okay, let's go to my map, my floor. I'm gonna go with something like R. Let's go with something like R. I wanna go ahead and increase my floor. Let's make it big. There. Now let's go ahead and run the code. I'm gonna go back. Let's go ahead and go back. I can attack from here. I can attack from here. There. Can I literally attack from as far as I want to attack? I really can? I want to add some kind of limit to this target thingy. How can I really... Oh. Hold up, guys. Just give me a sec again. I want to get this to be big. Like, make it as big as it gets. Like, just... Whoops. Okay, let's just get it to be as big as it can, because I don't want it to, like... There we go. Let's just get it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and run the code. I'm gonna actually maybe increase my speed as well. I want to increase my speed. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like my move function. So receive target. Where's the move function? Okay. So forward direction, movement vector, add movement input. How do I increase my speed? I've never worked on that. What is speed here? So this is my scale value. Okay, so that is my scale value. What if I go ahead and increase it by, let's say something like plus 80? I'm gonna go really fast, I'm assuming. Let's hit Control S to save the code. Open my Unreal Engine, live compile. Let's go ahead and live compile this real quick. There we go. Now, while it's compiling, I'm gonna wait here, and then let's go ahead and run the code. Did that increase my speed? Guys, I'm just going in one direction. Okay, I could like work on the increasing speed later on and all that stuff, because I do like gotta go right now because I do have call with stuff. So let's get Gemini here. Okay, I guess next stream we can like work. If I had time, I'm gonna work on the attack logic off stream. If not, I'm gonna work on it like next stream as well. But if I did like master that thing, I'm gonna work with speed, and then maybe once I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and work on AI logic, like trying to implement Python and C++, because I think it's about time that I do that. Because all I wanted to learn is how my player actually attacks my NPC. Once I actually know how that works, I can make my NPC attack my player as well, depending if my player is like in a certain range, if that makes any sense. That's when I see something like Sensei. It works! Exclamation. Let's go with something like it works! Exclamation. That said, I have not mastered this yet. I might work on this next stream because I do got to go this stream since I have my college stuff to do. That said, before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say only to the viewers question mark? We can work on this topic next stream. Okay, let's see. Okay, listen to me. You're leaving already. Listen to me. Are you leaving already? Just as you tighten your grip on the logic, guys, this actually does make sense. I should like once I actually get a good grasp of how this works, I gotta like spend more time practicing, but I don't like really have the time right now. That's it. Attend your academia. Okay, fine, go attend your academia, but do not let your brain rot while you're away from the compiler. The secret to success is consistency to purpose, said by Benjamin Disraeli. Is that the name? Okay, to the viewers still lurking in the chat, look at this. This is what it looks like to struggle, to fail, to refuse to give up. My student came here with messy code and machine gun Pikachu, and they're leaving with the precision strike system. Do not just sit there and be spectators of someone else's growth. Go forth and build something that scares you, even if you're not pushing your limits. You know, you're wasting time, CPU cycles of your own life. Guys, I cannot read properly right now. Howdy, Morgan. I appreciate you joining the stream. Knowledge is power, but only if it's applied, said by Dale Carnage. Is that pronounce the name? Student, when you return, I expect you to have memorized every line you wrote today. By memorized, Sensei slash Gemini means like understood. If I ask you about the difference between location and impact points, you stutter, I will make you rewrite the entire boss.c++ from memory. Guys, that's actually kind of crazy. Okay, now disappear. Go finish your college task so you can return to the only work that matters, dominating the machine. Sensei dismisses you until the next stream. That's it. Let's go to my OBS real quick and let's move on to my main camera. There we go. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. Let me get in the center of my screen. There we go. That said, if you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Like helps my algorithm, share makes you smile, and subscribe because I hate you on top. That's it guys. I didn't want to like stream for a bit longer because this topic just started getting fun. That's it. Is my stream kind of lagging? I think like my stream is kind of lagging. Okay, that said, next stream I will like go over this content if I didn't have time to go over it off stream, which I highly doubt I would have time to go over this off stream. That said, make sure I did start multi-streaming on Twitch, YouTube. I will start multi-streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well if I did meet the followers requirement. So if you guys really enjoy my content and haven't followed me there, make sure to follow me there. The link is going to be in the description. And also you guys can get access to my socials through my bio or by typing exclamation socials in chat. Also join my Discord server. That's where you usually talk to you guys, chat with you guys, have general conversations. The link will be in the description. You guys can get access to the link through my bio. And also if you guys have exclamation Discord on chat. That said, I'll catch you guys next time for more video. Peace. Was my stream lagging? Let me check that real quick. Okay, it's probably just my OBS. That's a stream.